Discover the hidden truth behind the billionaire's unbelievable response after she bit him at the town hall meeting. Jenna had always known that Maplewood was a sleepy little town. The kind where neighbors waved as they mowed their lawns, and the smell of fresh cookies wafted through the streets. But on that sunny afternoon, everything changed. News spread like wildfire. Greg Harrington, a billionaire in a sharp suit, wanted to bulldoze their beloved community center for luxury condos. It felt like a punch in the gut. The community center was more than just bricks and mortar. It was where she and Mia found solace after everything fell apart. It was filled with laughter, friendship, and late-night meetings resolving neighborhood squabbles. And now someone wanted to tear it down like it was just an old toy that had lost its shine. Jenna's heart raced. She could almost feel the weight of the picket fences around her neighborhood collapsing. Mia, with her fierce attitude and rebellious spark, quickly rallied her friends. They set up social media pages, posts exploding with excitement and fury. Jenna couldn't believe her eyes. Not a minute went by without someone sharing a meme or a video. The town split in half. People loved supporting their community, and others stood firmly behind the billionaire. But chaos took a turn when Mia playfully pretended to sink her teeth into Greg during a confrontation, captured live on camera. It was a moment that lit the internet on fire, igniting the passionate debate like gasoline on a fire. "Simon, Mia. You have to be careful." Jenna's voice trembled in their tiny kitchen as they watched the news, fear mingled with a strange sense of pride for her daughter's spunky spirit. Jenna wanted to throttle her with pride but also felt a tightness in her chest. Why did everything have to come to a head like this? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the headlines piled up, Jenna's heart ached. She discovered Greg's background, a family that valued wealth over connection. Suddenly, he wasn't just a faceless wealthy man. There was a story behind those sharp suits and polished shoes. She felt an unexpected wave of empathy wash over her. If only he could understand why that community center meant so much to them. But could she forgive what he was trying to do? The town hall meeting loomed ahead, full of tension, emotions simmering. Jenna held her breath as the crowd gathered, filled with both familiar faces and those fueled by confusion. Mia stood at the front, fervently rallying the crowd. Jenna realized this battle was not just about the community center anymore. It was about connection, community, and hope. As Mia encouraged a chant, Jenna's heart was torn. The crowd's emotions were palpable, shifting like the wind. The atmosphere thickened. As Jenna prepped to speak, Greg strode to the microphone. His intentions were unknown. Would he justify his plans, or would something profound unfold? Jenna's heart beat harder as she awaited his words, her family's future hanging in the balance. Would it be a long overdue connection, or would their fragile community teeter on the brink of division? The answer loomed, leaving tension crackling in the air. Greg adjusted the microphone, the weight of the moment heavy in the air. He stood there, a figure carved from ambition and wealth, surveying the crowd. Anxiety rippled through Jenna. She could see Mia fidgeting, ready to jump into action at any moment. The sight of her daughter's determination was like embers glowing in the dark, waiting to catch fire. "Thank you for gathering here tonight," Greg began, his voice steady but lacking warmth. "I understand the uproar surrounding my proposal. I recognize the value of the community center to all of you." He paused, glancing at Mia and then scanning the crowd. With every word he spoke, Jenna's heart shifted between dread and hope. Would he truly acknowledge their sentiments? Would he see their community as more than just a plot of land ripe for development? "It's no secret that I want to build luxury condos here," he continued, "and I have visions of elevating this town's potential." A smattering of applause echoed, but it didn't faze the majority of the crowd, who glared back at him. "I believe we can create something that benefits everyone in Maplewood." A murmur spread through the audience, confusion splintering like a brittle branch. Jenna bit her lip, suppressing the urge to shout out her objections. How could anyone think that condos could replace the warmth of their community center? Just as Greg prepared to delve further into his elaborate vision, the unexpected happened. Mia, with courage blazing in her eyes, stepped forward, catching the crowd's attention. "Wait!" she exclaimed, her voice ringing clear. "Mr. Harrington, you talk about potential. But what about our potential as a community? What about the laughter, lessons, and lives that the center brings us?" Gasps erupted from the crowd, surprise mixing with admiration. Jenna felt a rush of pride wash over her. Her daughter was fighting for their home. That building isn't just bricks and mortar, it's the heart of Maplewood. Greg's expression shifted, a flicker of something, maybe surprise or recognition, dared to cross his face. Jenna scanned the crowd. Their expressions mirrored her own feeling of hope, the sinking realization that perhaps Greg wasn't just a billionaire after all. Maybe, just maybe, he could be moved. "If you think that replacing our center will elevate this town, you're mistaken," Mia continued, fists clenched at her sides, her voice stronger. "You may not see us as important, but we're the lifeblood of this community. And we won't go down without a fight." The crowd erupted in cheers, energy surging like a storm. Jenna could feel her heart racing, caught between the electric atmosphere and the fear of what could happen next. Yet before she could react, Greg raised a hand, attempting to silence the new wave of excitement. "Let me address this," he said slowly, cautiously. "I hear you, Mia. And I want to understand," but those words hung in the air, pregnant with possibilities. What did that mean? Would he consider a different path, one that included their community center instead of obliterating it? The crowd fell quiet, anticipation hanging thick. Jenna held her breath, the weight of the moment pulling at her chest. Could this be the turning point they so desperately needed? And if he truly did want to understand, what truths would emerge next? As the silence pervaded the hall, Mia shot Jenna a glance, a spark of hope in her eyes. But the questions lingered. Could they break through the barriers built by wealth? Or would the wolf still be wearing the facade? With the answers hanging in the air, the potential for change felt almost tangible. But would Greg's heart be swayed? Could understanding lead to healing, or would it be just another empty promise? Before Mia could even catch her breath, Greg leaned forward, the microphone amplifying the creak of the stand. "You've made your point, Mia. The emotions are clear. The community center means the world to you, and I respect that." He took a deep breath, and for a brief moment, the crowd held hope like a fragile glass ornament. Jenna leaned in, her heart pumping louder than the cheers echoing off the walls. "But," Greg continued, "what does that mean for my vision? What are you willing to give up to keep a building?" A ripple of protests erupted from the crowd, but Greg raised his hands again, attempting to maintain order. "I want to find common ground. Let us discuss." He hesitated, openly weighing the words before him, "how this land can serve both your needs and the town's future." Silence filtered through the room. Jenna watched as Mia's face shifted from fierce passion to confusion. How could there be common ground when Greg's initial stance felt so immovable? Jenna's voice broke through the quiet. "What do you mean, common ground? Are you suggesting we compromise on the heart of our community for luxury condos?" Her hands trembled, a reminder of the stakes at play. Greg's eyes narrowed, scanning the faces in the audience. "Not a compromise, but an opportunity. Perhaps we can integrate the community center into the design, make it part of my plan. I'm envisioning a space that revamps not just the center but the vibe of Maplewood." The murmurs began again, this time mixed with hesitance and curiosity. Could Greg actually mean what he was saying? Jenna felt the weight of every skeptical glance around her, as if questioning their leader's integrity. Mia placed a hand on Jenna's arm, grounding her. "What's the catch?" she whispered, her own voice trembling. "Can we trust him?" Jenna whispered back, echoing the doubt that churned deep within her, but Greg held up his hands. "I assure you, I am not here to cheat you. I want to hear your ideas. What would you want in this partnership?" Mia didn't hesitate. We need the community center in the center of it all. We need parks, open spaces, areas where families, elderly, and kids can gather and grow. She could feel the eyes of the whole room upon her. We need connection, not just buildings. Applause erupted again, jubilation igniting in pockets of the crowd. A rush of unity washed over Jenna as hopeful faces turned to Greg, urging him to recognize the moment. "All right," Greg said, pulling at the fabric of his designer suit. "Let us hear more ideas. I promise that together we can reimagine this space. But I need your vision to align with my business goals. Otherwise, this won't work." The crowd held its breath, the fine line between hope and fear hovering in the air. Would they ever really find that alignment? Could their desperate love for the community be woven into Greg's lavish dreams? Various voices from the audience began to rise, launching into passionate discussions about park space, recreational facilities, and even ways to honor the legacy of the community center. Jenna felt a stirring within her, a mixture of fear and excitement, each possibility crackling like static in the air. But as Greg nodded along, Jenna's heart raced with questions. What if his sincerity was nothing more than a facade? What if this was a ploy for public image? As the energy in the hall surged with every new suggestion and every shared dream, Mia whispered, "Mom, what if we really can get him to see us?" Jenna shot her daughter a glance, her heart swelling with pride, but anxiety prickled her skin. What if we can't? As the discussions continued, Jenna felt the dual weights of hope and caution tugging at her soul. Could they build a bridge from the past to a future where they didn't have to lose the essence of Maplewood, and if so, at what cost? The night was far from over, and the atmosphere was charged. Each new voice held potential, but in the deepest part of Jenna's gut, she couldn't shake the question lingering like a shadow. Would Greg truly work with them, or was this the beginning of even tougher negotiations? As the discussions churned around her, one thing became clear: the fight for their community was far from over. But was this already a fight for their souls too? Jenna felt the tension build in the room as more and more voices joined the fray. They were all sharing ideas, but there was an electric undercurrent of skepticism. Each suggestion was like a lifeline thrown into water, but there was still the fear of drowning. Mia stood up, emboldened by the crowd's energy. "What if," she began, her voice steady, "we propose a community board? This could help guide the design process, ensuring it reflects our values. We cannot just be left in the dark while decisions are made about our future." The audience reacted, some nodding, others murmuring their agreement. Greg raised an eyebrow, a flash of intrigue passing across his features. "A community board? That's an interesting idea," he said, genuinely pondering the proposition. "But how would it function? What powers would it have?" Mia took a deep breath, encouraged by the moment. "It should have real decision-making power. We want transparency. We need to feel heard and seen in this process, not sidelined to meet a corporate agenda." Jenna caught Mia's excited glances and felt a swell of hope, and the questions again began to chime in her mind. Could they truly influence Greg's vision? Were their voices enough to shape the ultimate outcome? "Maybe we should have sessions where community members can express their ideas directly to you," Jenna suggested, stepping forward as her heart raced. "This way, you'd get first-hand insights into what means the most to us. You could actually hear real stories from our lives." Greg appeared to consider, his brow furrowing with concentration. The tension shifted ever so slightly. It was like a faint breeze on a sultry day. Yet, Jenna was aware of the cautious optimism hanging in the air, fragile and fleeting. "Okay," Greg said slowly, "I can agree to more open forums. But and this is crucial, you have to understand, businesses operate differently. We need feasibility. I can't promise designs that will put us in the red. It has to work for all of us." Jenna felt a spark of defiance ignite within her. "This isn't just about business, it's about people. It's about community. We give our support to this project, but only if we see that it embraces our needs. If we're part of this, then we want to see a community center that embodies who we are." "Maybe we need to create a vision board," Mia chimed in excitedly, her eyes shining with creativity. "An actual space where we can visualize Maplewood's future together." What if people could submit their ideas visually and tell their stories? Pictures, art, everything. The applause that erupted this time was louder, mixed with laughter as people began to imagine what this vision board could look like. Jenna felt a rush through the crowd, emotions stirring an irresistible urge to come together. They were not just talking, they were dreaming, believing in the possibility of something. Greg smiled, the tension in his shoulders dropping. I think we can work with that. It could be a powerful tool. Yet, as hope began to settle in Jenna's chest, a darker thought nagged at her: what strings would be attached to this newfound collaboration? Could their intimate stories truly hold weight against corporate interests? Just then, an older gentleman in the back stood up, his voice strong and gravelly. What would happen, Greg, if we put our trust in you and you let us down? This isn't just a building, it's our home. We want to be erased. For a heartbeat, all eyes turned to Greg, waiting for his response. A wave of doubt washed over the crowd as Jenna sensed the weight in the air. Would Greg stand firm, or would this be another fleeting moment of false hope? As Jenna looked around, she saw Mia's determined expression, and something deep within her stirred again. The struggle for Maplewood was far from over, and they would need to remain vigilant. Could they protect their beloved community center while navigating this precarious balance of hope and skepticism? The answers may lie ahead, but the path was shrouded in uncertainty. With every heartbeat, Jenna felt the stakes rising. Could this new partnership be the key to preserving their home, or was it merely a gamble that could change everything forever? The room fell silent, the air thick with tension as Greg shifted his gaze from the older gentleman back to the entire room full of expectant faces. He opened his mouth, but no words came out at first. Jenna felt her heart race. This was the moment when everything could change for better or worse. Finally, Greg cleared his throat. I understand your concerns. Trust is hard to come by, especially in these situations. He looked genuinely troubled, like he recognized the weight of their fears. I can't promise perfection, but I can assure you that I will do my best to include your voices in every step. We will draw up agreements to ensure no one feels sidelined or left behind again. A murmur ran through the crowd. Jenna could almost hear the collective sigh of relief mingling with the lingering disbelief. It was a start, but it was far from the reassurance they needed. A small voice in the back of her mind wondered if this was simply a strategic move on Greg's part to placate them. But right now, they had momentum, and momentum was everything. Thank you for your honesty, Greg, Mia said, her voice clear and unwavering. We need to set up a timeline. Let us have regular check-ins, like monthly meetings. Everyone deserves to stay engaged as things move forward. Agreed, Greg responded, digging into his notes. I'll have my team draft a timeline with proposed dates for forums and updates. I think a visual component, like you suggested, could be integrated into our communication plan. A storm of excitement surged through Jenna. This was their chance to hold Greg accountable, but she felt a knot in her stomach. Was it enough? Could they really trust him? The rhythm of hope and caution wove together in her heart as she looked over at Mia, who was beaming with determination. Let us work on the vision board together. Jenna launched in, emboldened by the energy in the room. We can gather art and ideas from all of us. Imagine kids, families, seniors all telling their stories with visuals. She gestured to the room, her pulse quickening. This could empower us. Show us our collective vision. This drew enthusiastic applause, and the room seemed alive with inspiration. Jenna felt a wave of warmth flood through her. This was the spark of community that they had all been yearning for. She glanced nervously at Greg. How would he respond to their fervor? I'm in, he replied, smiling widely now. I love that idea. It will keep us all connected and remind us why we're working toward this project in the first place. As voices rose in excited conversations about materials and ideas for the board, Jenna felt her defenses slowly lower. This could be a genuine collaboration. Maybe they could build something beautiful together. But just as her heartbeat began to steady, another voice piped up. What happens if progress stalls? What if the corporate interests pull you away, Greg? We're here to share our dreams, but we need guarantees. Jenna's heart sank again. The skepticism returned like a shadow creeping in. They had so much enthusiasm, yet the realities of the situation were lurking in the corners. Greg's expression shifted to one of contemplation. That's a fair point, although it's not something I can firmly predict. What I can promise is to keep communication open. And if it stalls, I hope to have your support to re-engage the focus on community needs. You can hold me accountable. In that moment, Jenna felt as if she were balancing on a tightrope. The excitement was there, but the fear was just below her, waiting for a sudden gust of wind. Then Mia raised her hand again, and everyone turned to her as if she were the sun, ready to shine a light on their concerns. We need to make sure we have a way to communicate directly if something feels off. What if we set up a group email or a social media page? We need a steady line of communication to keep us united. Jenna's pulse quickened again, feeling buoyed by the idea. They were building a movement. This could work. In her heart, she felt the connection growing, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Great thinking. Greg responded, and in that transient moment, everything felt bright again, yet, within the swell of optimism, Jenna could still hear the whispers of doubt echoing. Could they truly trust Greg? What would happen if he lost his resolve? As the meeting wound down, everyone began to disperse, but Jenna couldn't shake her feelings of uncertainty. The stakes were high. And as she stepped out into the cool evening air, a thought struck her. If they were going to transform their community and hold on to their home, they had to be ready for anything. What would happen when the reality of business collided with their dreams? Would they be able to protect Maplewood, or would they have to fight harder than they ever imagined? The evening sky wrapped around Jenna like a soft blanket, the stars blinking into life above her as she walked home. Her mind raced with thoughts of the meeting. Hope and skepticism danced in her chest, creating an unsettling mix. Could they really navigate the murky waters of corporate interests while staying true to their dreams for Maplewood? Her phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her from her reverie. It was a message from Mia. Great job today. Let's meet tomorrow to brainstorm ideas for the vision board. I think we can really make a difference. Tears of relief prickled at the corners of Jenna's eyes. Having a partner like Mia meant more than just a sharing of ideas, it was a lifeline. They were in this together, pushing against the tide of uncertainty and striving for something better. Jenna smiled despite herself, feeling that familiar warmth ease her nerves. Yet as she arrived home, the weight of doubt settled back on her shoulders. The living room was dim, shadows creeping in from the corners. Her father was ensconced in his usual spot on the couch, absorbed in a newspaper, while her mother prepared dinner in the kitchen. The scent of garlic and spices wafted through the air, a comforting reminder of home. But even this familiarity felt different today. "Hey, how did the meeting go?" her father asked, glancing up from his paper. "It was okay," Jenna replied, shrugging, not quite ready to spill her apprehensions. "We got some things set up, but it's still early days." Her father put down the newspaper, his brow furrowing. "You can't trust these corporate guys, Jenna. I've seen it too many times. They promise the world, then they disappear when it counts." Jenna swallowed hard. Those words echoed in her mind. "I know, Dad. But this time feels different. We're trying to take control. If we do this right, we could actually make a difference." Her mother chimed in from the kitchen, "Just stay cautious. It's okay to dream big, but don't let those dreams blind you to reality." Jenna nodded, feeling the weight of their protection. From the depths of uncertainty rose the light of their support, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this fight. Later, trying to shake her worries, she sat down with her sketchbook. Doodles turned into drafts for the vision board, each line brimming with possibility. She could see children playing in parks, families gathered for picnics, and seniors sharing stories. It was vibrant, a patchwork of their community's hopes and dreams. Her heart raced with the energy of creation, but just as she began to feel inspired, a text from Greg lit up her screen. "Hey, Jenna. Would love to discuss some ideas for the vision board. How about we meet at the cafe tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Let us collaborate." Jenna's heart sank a little. Did they really need Greg involved in their creative process? Wasn't this their moment to shine and set the direction they wanted to go? But deep down, she knew having him on board could lend credibility to their ideas if he was sincere. With a shaky breath, she replied, "Sure, I'll be there." The next morning, the cafe buzzed with life. Aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, and Jenna fought against her nervousness as she waited for Greg. What if he dismissed their ideas? What if he had other intentions? As she pushed through the door, she spotted him at a corner table, a stack of papers in front of him and a determined look on his face. "Hey, Jenna. Thanks for coming." Greg stood to greet her, and Jenna forced a smile. There it was again, that tightrope she was walking on, her trust hanging in the balance. What would happen when Jenna unveiled the community's vision? Could they truly guide their dreams under his watch? Or was this all just another round of business as usual? Jenna took a deep breath and settled into the chair across from Greg, the tension in her shoulders refusing to ease. The cafe was alive with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of cups, but her heart pounded in her ears. She focused on Greg, taking in his friendly demeanor, but the uncertainty still clung to her. "So, I've been thinking about the vision board," Greg started, spreading his papers out like a map of tangled ideas. "We need to make sure our proposals align with what the investors want. They're not just going to back our dreams because we want them to." Jenna felt a sharp annoyance rise within her. But what if those proposals go against what the community really needs? "We have to stay true to our vision." Greg smiled, but there was something unsettling about it. "I get that, but we also need to think about pragmatic steps. If we want funding, we need to show results that are appealing to them." His voice took on a businesslike tone, and Jenna struggled to swallow down her frustration. Could he really understand what they were fighting for? This wasn't just paperwork to her, it was a lifeline for Maplewood. "What do you mean by results?" she pressed, feeling her heart race. "Things like increased foot traffic in the park, community engagement metrics, stuff like that," he replied, glancing down at his notes. "We can play up the success stories. It's not dishonest, it's just giving a clearer picture to investors." Jenna leaned back, crossing her arms. "But that's not the whole picture, Greg. Maplewood isn't only about statistics. It's about people, families, stories. If we dilute that message, what's left?" He hesitated, his smile faltering. "I understand that, Jenna. But you have to realize the stakes here. These investors can make or break our efforts." Silence grew between them, thick and heavy. Jenna's mind raced, torn between wanting to prove her point and the numbing realization that perhaps he was right about the investors, yet wrong about the community. How could they keep their authenticity intact while navigating their ambitions? Greg broke the silence. "I think if we work together, we can bridge that gap. You're passionate about heart, I'm good at logistics. Together that was it." Greg's words hung in the air like a pendulum, the promise of partnership both sweet and sour. They could either become a powerful team or a tangled mess. But what would that mean for her vision? "Maybe I should take a step back," she said quietly, her heart in her throat. "I just don't want to lose what we're trying to achieve." "Jenna, wait. We need to find common ground," he urged, reaching across the table. As his hand brushed against hers, a strange energy zapped through her, igniting a fierce determination. "Let us start with what matters most, Greg. We won't have anything if we don't lead with our values." She could see the surprise flicker in his eyes, and for a moment, clarity washed over her. It wasn't just about compromising her ideals, it was about redefining them to fit the landscape around her. It was about standing strong in the face of their own fears, but as she sat across from him, believing she was finally breaking through, the cafe door swung open, ringing the bell over it with a jingle. A figure stepped inside, their silhouette unfamiliar yet captivating. Jenna felt a chill run down her spine as she met their gaze, intense and filled with an urgency she couldn't place. Who were they? What did they want? And how would they fit into the blurred lines of her aspirations? As the stranger walked towards them, Jenna's heart raced again. Did this newcomer hold the key to everything they had been fighting for, or would they only add to her growing list of uncertainties? The stranger moved with purpose, their eyes locked onto Jenna's. She could feel her pulse quicken, a rush of nerves swirling in her stomach. Greg seemed to notice too, his brows drawn together in confusion as he glanced nervously between Jenna and the approaching figure. "Can I help you?" Jenna asked, her voice steadier than she felt. The cafe seemed to fade away, the laughter and clatter becoming a dull backdrop to the rising tension. The stranger stopped just a few feet away and took a moment to catch their breath, eyes glinting with determination. "I heard you were trying to save Maplewood," they said softly, yet the weight of their words resonated around the room. "Who are you?" Greg asked, skepticism lacing his tone. Jenna couldn't blame him, she felt it too. But curiosity tugged at her. "My name is Alex," the stranger replied, brushing a stray lock of hair behind their ear. "I know this is sudden, but I believe I can help you." Jenna's heart skipped. "Help how?" Alex shifted their weight, gauging their next words carefully. "I've been following the project online. I saw the heart and soul you are putting into your vision for Maplewood. But I also noticed something else. I have connections. You need people who can see beyond data and statistics." Greg leaned forward, intrigue sparking in his eyes despite his earlier uncertainty. "What do you mean? Connections to investors?" "Yes," Alex confirmed with a nod. "But not just any investors. People who care about community impact, not only the bottom line." Jenna felt a flicker of hope ignite within her. "You're serious?" "I am. I've seen what happens to communities when they are treated like numbers on a balance sheet. I don't want that for Maplewood." Her breath caught. This was everything they dreamed of, a connection that could bridge the divide between vision and pragmatism. But a nagging doubt crept in. "What's the catch? Why do you want to help us?" Alex shrugged, their expression earnest. "I grew up in a town like Maplewood. I understand how vital places like this are. I can't sit back and let it fade away. I want to see it thrive." Jenna exchanged a glance with Greg. She saw the same flicker of hope reflected in his eyes, but the core of her anxious heart reminded her to tread lightly. "If what you say is true, we need to know more. We can't risk compromising our values through mere numbers, even if the investors align with us." Greg nodded, clearly in agreement. "We want to ensure that any funding would actually serve the community, not exploit it." "Of course," Alex replied quickly, sincerity etched in their features. "I completely understand. My connections can help fund community initiatives, events, whatever it takes to bring Maplewood back to life." Jenna felt a smile creep onto her face, but it felt fragile. "Then let us talk more about this. We can meet." Suddenly, the air changed. The cafe door swung open again, this time with a gust of wind that scattered napkins off the tables. The newcomer, this time a middle-aged woman with striking silver hair, stepped in with an intensity that drew every eye. "Alex." The woman called out, a note of urgency in her tone. "I need to speak with you now." Jenna watched as Alex's expression shifted from hopeful to serious. "Not now, Eleanor. I'm in the middle of something important." "Whatever you're doing here can wait," Eleanor insisted, her voice sharper. "There are bigger issues at stake right now. We need you both." Jenna's heartbeat quickened. Who was this woman? And what did she mean by bigger issues? A sudden fear gripped her, a fear of losing control over the very dream she fought to save. As Greg opened his mouth to question Eleanor, Jenna felt a surge of urgency. "Wait," she interjected, glancing between the two of them. "What is going on? What is it we need to know?" Both Alex and Eleanor exchanged a glance, tension crackling in the air. Something was brewing, something bigger than just Maplewood's fate. And deep in the pit of her stomach, Jenna knew this was just the beginning of a storm that could change everything. What had she stumbled into? And would they have the strength to face it together? Eleanor's intensity was palpable, and Jenna felt her cheeks flush as the weight of the moment pressed down on her. The world around them fell silent, the cafe buzzing with an unspoken tension, eyes turning toward the trio that had inadvertently drawn everyone's focus. "Why do you need us?" Greg asked, breaking the heavy silence that hung in the air. His voice was steady, yet Jenna could hear the underlying fear wrapped around his words. Eleanor took a deep breath, glancing around the room as if gauging the eavesdropping crowd. There's been talk. Rumors of developments planned for Maplewood that could threaten everything you're trying to protect. She locked eyes with Jenna, urgency flickering like a candle in the breeze. Plans that don't care about community spirit or revitalization. They want to bulldoze through with maximum profit in mind. Jenna's stomach churned. What kind of developments? High-rises, commercial centers, things that swallow up small businesses and erase the charm of the town, Eleanor explained, her voice low but fierce. Not just whispers, either. There's money behind these plans, and if we don't act now, there won't be a Maplewood left to save. The reality of her words hit Jenna like a cold wave. They had fought so hard to breathe life back into their community, and now it was nearing collapse. Who's behind it? Jenna demanded, her heart racing. A developer with deep pockets, Alex said, their tone growing more serious. They've enlisted political allies who'll back them no matter what. We have a small window to rally support before they announce their intentions publicly. Greg shook his head in disbelief. We can't let that happen. But how do we stop it? Eleanor tapped a finger on the table, her eyes sharp. We need to gather evidence, enlist supporters, and amplify your vision for Maplewood. People need to see that there's more than just money at stake here. But where do we even start? Jenna felt overwhelmed. It was like being handed a mountain to climb without a map. Alex leaned in closer. I can help with that, they offered. My connections aren't just wealthy investors. I know activists and community leaders who've fought against similar developments. We can form a coalition. Jenna felt a flicker of determination return. Okay. But we need to make sure this isn't just another empty promise. We have to be strategic. And we have to be loud. Agreed, Greg added, his resolve firming. If these plans are real, we can't sit back and let them steamroll us. But we have to act fast. They'll strike while we're still organizing. Eleanor nodded vigorously. Exactly. Meet me tomorrow at the town square. We'll gather ideas and brainstorm a plan. This isn't just for you three, it's for everyone who loves Maplewood. As their plan began to crystallize in the air between them, Jenna felt a swell of optimism breaking through the anxiety. But deep inside, shadows danced, reminding her of the lurking threat. What if they find out we're onto them first? What if they try to silence us? Eleanor's expression softened, empathy shining through. Then we make sure they know there's strength in numbers. They can try to intimidate us, but we won't back down. Not if we work together. Jenna locked eyes with Greg and Alex. Together, then. As they sealed that promise in the excited buzz of the cafe, the stakes felt clear. They were about to enter a battleground bigger than their dreams, and they had to be ready for the fight. But as Jenna prepared to leave, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced down, only to find a text flashing ominously on the screen. You don't know what you're getting into. Back off, or you'll regret it. Fear crept up her spine. Was there someone watching them? With one final glance at Alex and Eleanor, Jenna whispered, we may need more than just strength and numbers, we need to uncover the truth before it's too late. The sun set over Maplewood, casting a golden hue across the quiet streets. Jenna stepped onto her porch, the familiar creak soothing her nerves. The past few days had hit like a whirlwind, spinning between hope, uncertainty, and now a growing sense of impending change. That ominous text still echoed in her mind, back off, or you'll regret it. Mia bounded out the door, excitement shimmering in her eyes. Mom! Did you see the reactions from last night? The townsfolk are rallying. Jenna couldn't help but smile. I did, sweetheart. Their passion is contagious. But riddled beneath that smile was fear that their dreams might still be snuffed out. As they gathered for their strategy meeting at the town square that evening, Jenna felt the energy pulse around her. Old friends, teens, and families united, their voices swelling with determination. It was heartwarming to see her community come together, yet the shadows of doubt loomed close. Eleanor stood at the front, commanding the crowd with her presence. This is our chance. Together, we will not only defend Maplewood but redefine what it means to be a community. Cheers erupted, sending shivers down Jenna's spine. She glanced at Greg and Alex, resolute beside her. They shared determined nods, recognizing the collective strength of the crowd. Mia, Jenna whispered, watching the spark in her daughter's eyes. This is our moment, but we have to stay strong. Promise me we won't waver, even if it gets tough. Promise, Mom, Mia replied, her voice steady. But moments later, Eleanor pointed towards the horizon. What's that? All eyes flicked to the distant figures approaching dressed in suits, with an air of superiority that sent a chill through the crowd. Those are the developers, Jenna murmured. Her heart raced at the sight of their antagonists standing resolute, a stark contrast to the warmth of her community. The murmurs grew restless. What do they want? Are they here to frighten us? We won't back down. Jenna stepped forward, heart pounding. We stand here today united, undeterred by intimidation. The crowd's resolve galvanized around her words. But she could see the smug expressions on the developers' faces. They thrived on fear. One of the men stepped forward, a smirk twisting his mouth. We simply want to discuss what future investments could look like. We're not your enemies unless you want to make us one. Gasps echoed, but Jenna lifted her chin, refusing to be cowed. No. You can't buy our hearts with your shiny promises. You don't just see us as a town, you see us as a dollar sign. Mia chimed in, voice fierce. And you have no idea what you're up against. Maplewood is our home. It's South, our place of laughter, love, and connection. The crowd surged forward, inspired by their relentless spirit. Greg stepped beside them, his demeanor shifting. We are not pawns in your game of profit. Our heart beats strong in this community, and we will fight for it. The developers exchanged glances, visibly rattled. Eleanor beckoned the crowd to gather closer, her voice a steady beacon. We'll create a vision that protects our essence together. We'll show them that our strength lies in unity, not in fear. With a roar, the crowd united, chanting their demands. Jenna felt hope surge through her. They could do this, together. As the developers lost their confidence amid the passion of the townspeople, one of them stepped back. Fine, let us separate our investments from your community. We'll draw plans without you. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Jenna felt tears prick at her eyes. They had taken the first step in reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. In that victorious moment, something shifted deep within Jenna. A sense of purpose filled her heart, and she knew she could trust not only her community but also herself. They could create a future that celebrated everything Maplewood stood for, as long as they stayed united. Days turned into weeks, the spirit of Maplewood shining brighter than before. They brainstormed ideas, launched initiatives, and even enlisted Alex to connect them with activists that shared their vision. Each step solidified their foundation, transforming their dreams into actionable plans. But then, the next challenge came: a meeting between Jenna and the developers, a chance to lay out their vision and confront their detractors directly. Tension crackled in the air as they entered the sleek conference room, a stark contrast to the warmth of the town square. The lead developer, once intimidating, now seemed timid under their unwavering unity. Jenna stood tall, heart racing. We have proposals that prioritize our community. And we want to work with you on revitalizing Maplewood while respecting its spirit. As discussions unfolded, Greg, Mia, and the community fully rallied behind Jenna. They argued for parks, open spaces, and keeping the community center at the heart of it all. Each word was pronounced with conviction, sculpting a new narrative. To their surprise, the developers finally conceded. They realized they were cornered, and that perhaps there was more to gain in partnership than in conflict. A compromise emerged: new business ventures could thrive alongside community initiatives. As they exited the meeting, bubbling excitement spread through Jenna and her companions. They had not only protected their home but shaped its future, transforming Maplewood into a place where families could thrive without losing their connection to one another. Jenna hugged Mia, a full heart sending waves of gratitude soaring. "We did it. Together. Just like we said." Mia grinned, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of it all. As they stood arm in arm, gazing at the familiar streets of Maplewood, tears of joy streamed down Jenna's face. They had conquered fears, insecurities, and a plan that threatened their fabric, emerging stronger, united, transformed. In the distance, laughter danced in the air, weaving in and out of new possibilities, revitalizing their cherished home. And for the first time in years, Jenna felt truly free, ready to embrace the future. This was it. Their community's transformation stood as a guiding light, and together they were invincible, a testament to resilience and hope. Now is the time to build connections beyond this beautiful story. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive tales that inspire and empower. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and let your excitement be known. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. This is your chance to join the conversation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us grow this community together.